directors, we all think differently. We have a different mindset on how things should be operated. With that being said, these businesses, the gas station, resorts, casino, these need to be ran by business-minded people that have that experience. And the way I look at it, the reason why I am so for this is because there's the checks and balances there. This is a great way to keep these companies moving forward. That's the biggest issue right there, is to ensure that these businesses continue on with the managers that exist, that are doing a great job, that are moving them forward, keep them in there. And every administration, we don't have to go through a whole hiring and firing, and remove the politics from the business so that we can continue to move Upsala get forward.
Okay, those are pretty much the individuals we have at this time, Mr. Speaker. In closing, I would just like to re-emphasize what has been stated here, that ultimately this is designed to separate, if not at least minimize, the influence of politics and business. And that's what I like. That's what motivates me to get involved with this article of incorporation that it would be passed. This is what I like to see and be a part of, is because this is a whole new way of thinking, and it's a new way of doing business. We can say we agree to disagree, and some of us have. And if we want to play politics with it, we can. That's up to you. But the design and the thought of this is exactly going against that, is to not play politics with it, to not play politics with business, but to do things right, to do things where businesses can flourish and create an avenue that we can own tribally run businesses. That's ultimately what this is going to do. It's going to create a branch that's going to make money for the tribe. That's what this is going to do, new monies. And so, with that, I hope you will consider it as a body. I hope as it comes to the floor and we review it, that you will find it favorable, and that we can start moving forward and get some things established. And you can say you were a part of it. You can say that you voted yes. And in the future, when everything's happening, you can say, yes, I was there and I supported it, and I'm glad I did. I hope. Thank you.
No, Judy. Okay, that wraps up the 30-minute. This time, this was delegated to the Finance Committee Chair Bryce Hunt. What is your committee's recommendation?
Yeah, we had a motion on the floor. Thanks, Speaker, Secretary, Vice Chair, Legislator Bobby. Yes. Yeah, we had a motion by Pat, second by Duke, and the question was by Frank. And the motion was to send this to the floor with changes and amendments for today's session. And the consensus was 4 yes, 3 no, 0 abstain for approval.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the floor is now open for debate. Floor recognizes Sean Robert.
I'd like to have Attorney Don Gray on explanation and information on your added information and language for this. One quick note, Don, it looks like we left out you cannot be a felon in that language. Usually in articles of incorporation, we put in that they can't be a felon. I'm sure that individuals who have incorporated before understand this language.
I just wanted to clarify, I just passed out some amendments, and this was discussed in committee yesterday. This is kind of a historic step that's happening here. And because of the presentation and the need to get Sullivan Inc. passed, that I'm gathering that's the consensus of the group to push this through so that we can get the business separated from the politics. With that being said, the second part of the process is Title 18, which is the code that governs tribal wholly owned corporations, and that's in your old business packet, and that hasn't been passed yet. And so the amendments reflect what that code would include. You'll see some red line amendments there for the qualifications for the directors, and that's in the proposed Title 18 code. We made some of the language in there to be a little bit more broader so that it'll be in conformance with the Title 18 code once it's passed. I think the committee yesterday can come to the consensus that the Title 18 would be on hold right now so that the committee task force has time to work on it. We thought a good time frame for getting Title 18 passed would be the January regular session. And also we thought once the board gets appointed, they would have a really key role in helping us establish Title 18 as well. But for Absaloga Inc. to get passed today, we had to do a little bit of amendments to it so that it is in conformance with the proposed Title 18 at a minimum. So that's the red line language you see there. However, with the amendments, we do want to ensure that once the board is appointed, that they do have a direction with helping us assist with the Title 18 provisions. And I really like the presentation of the task force and the experience they bring to the table. And I think that that would be very valuable in establishing that Title 18 code so that we do have a reflective model of separating politics from business, but yet with just enough oversight by the tribe so that that works in balance, that will provide the tribe with the best way to optimize our business. So with that being said, Senator Gilbert, I believe if that was left out, if we need to put that in, it's not. It is in there, sorry. So that's the reason for the amendments. If there's any questions on it, I'd be glad to answer that, or Dennis is also available for answering questions. Yes, Senator?
Thank you. In addition to that, I think that we need to add a minimum qualification of an MBA or master's program or Juris Doctorate, because like, for example, Ho Chunk Inc., Lance Morgan, who manages Ho Chunk Inc., has a Juris Doctorate and undergrad and master's programs, and he has attained his education credentials. We need for this to be successful because we have millions and millions of dollars on the line, and in order for the Crow tribe to sustain receiving revenue, I think that we need to have a bare minimum of that requirement for that type of education.
I just wanted to, clarify that that is a minimum. And for the appointment process, it's going to be in your articles, and it'll be approval by legislature. So your pool of candidates would be larger, but coming in, if that's what you wish to appoint as a legislature, you have that option. Or as legislature today, you can say, well, we want those minimums established now. So either way, as long as the legislature agrees to whatever that would be.
Based on that information, based on the legislators that are here, the minimum requirements, maybe each and every one of you can express a position on that. Because we're moving forward with the Ho Chunk Inc. type organization, and we know that Lance Morgan has these type of credentials, and I think that we need to move forward and have that kind of requirement for the credentials. So with that, maybe individuals can express their opinion.
So still for debate? Paul J.
Thank you, Speaker, Secretary, legislative body, visiting guests. When you look at this, I'm not familiar with this law right here. To me, they kind of, I'm here 90% of the time, 95 to 90% of the time, and as I was saying, I guess committee meetings are very important for being knowledgeable about law. Yeah. But myself, I guess, kind of like yesterday, they had the committee meeting, and so I didn't really kind of read it, but didn't really kind of look into it as good. But I used to, before I became a legislator, I used to own a fitness business. And so when I owned that fitness business, I guess insurance is important, liability insurance. And so when you look at this, I guess, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, Don, we didn't came to it, but, I guess insurance-wise and all that kind of stuff, is it supposed to be in this document, or is it, the executive does their own policies and procedures and stuff?
With regards to liability insurance, and I believe because it's a tribal instrumentality, it would be covered under the tribe's umbrella until they establish their own policy and procedures and set up their own insurance. But they still carry those same privileges and immunities until they legislate until they pass their own bylaws, policies, and procedures in place. So that they will be covered. Bill, if I'm incorrect, or Melissa, if I'm incorrect, you may correct me, but that's generally how I see that practiced.
Thank you. Oh, still open for debate. Go ahead, Frank.
Thank you, Chairman. Gas body, I'm a proponent for this episode. I hate. One of the key things that I wanted on this was protection for these businesses that are up and coming and that are starting. Businesses rise and fall within 2 years, and we see that with the 8A, with the 8A, they have a 2 years minimum on there for the government, because that is because businesses rise and fall within 2 years. So these businesses that are newly starting, Battlefield Express, the Bison Project, and these convenience stores, they need to be protected. Right now, Battlefield is a successful business, but that can all be turned around. I mean, profits and all that, we see it with Sunwash. We've seen it with Yellowtown Market, where when businesses, profits aren't put back into businesses, they fail. And part of that was to protect these businesses, to all go under umbrella. And all progressive tribes start out with a board. They have a board and they work out the kinks. They get where they're at and they figure it out. And we can have separate businesses under tribal LLC, Section 17, nonprofit. They can all fall under the umbrella of Solid 8. This is just a formal protection over all of them. So I think that we can debate this to death and we can go back and forth on it, but at least getting it through there and electing a board that's competent to gear this in the right direction where it should go, and let them make the decisions and keep our politics out of it, and let the board make the decisions on where they're going to go on. A lot of their decisions will be the best thing for this to succeed. And just to get it out there, getting it started, protect it is what we need to do. And it's important for all the businesses involved to have that protection and arm's length away from politics. And so they're not driven into the ground and they end up like Parker Mills and Sun Lodge and all the other ones that were driven to the ground that started out as successful. Within a few years' time, they dwindled down to nothing. So I think that this is a good legislation. It's not perfect. There can make some, but it's also amendable. The board can make those decisions, and we just let it fly. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the body, and guests. Along the same lines is, let's get this off the ground. I mean, like I said, we've been talking about it for years. I know since I've been here, we've been talking about this. A lot of the members in here have seen this, so let's give it a chance. We said, let's get it off the ground. Let's not stall it. I think we're going to have a chairman that's going to appoint some competent members. Like, I want to use an example of the judicial chief judge. One time we hired the standards for the chief judge so high that we only had like a couple pool, and that was hard. So with that, I mean, I think they'll, like I said, it's eventually going to come back to the legislature for your confirmation, yes or no. If you don't like this, hey, this guy's not unqualified, then say no. At least it's going to come back to you as representatives. But let's get it off the floor. Let's give it a chance to, like Frank said, let's give it a chance to, we can bring it back in and we can amend it. And we got still Title 18 that we got to pass in here, correct, Don? It's still got to be in here. We're going to look over that and we got to amend that. But this final approval of the Articles of Incorporation, let's get that going. Give them a chance. And which we haven't done so far. Like, let's talk about insurance, and the board members can figure that out. I don't think that's up to us to figure out, but board members, get them going so they can figure that out. So if, like I said, can get people's support on this today and give them a chance to get going on this. We've been talking about it way too long. Separate business from politics, especially now, timing wise, when currently, like you said, Robin Valley's on his way out on the Battlefield market, and we've got the Wells Star going up, we got the Fort Smith, we got Pryor going up now, so timing's good right now, and we need to get this going. Thank you.
Go ahead, Sean.
Yes, I established many nonprofits and different corporations and things like that within my experience. And yesterday, within the committee meeting, that we discussed that maybe we can educate ourselves on the selection of board members. On the selection of board members, we were educated by Joe Cult on Harvard Project on how to move forward on a competent board where we select individuals who understand how to run a board, who have the credentials and know how to do motions and how to protect the well-being of the entity. And so based on that information, I think that we, the Crow legislature, should have authority to select 3 board members from the legislature, and the executive can select 3 members from the executive. And then we can have an overall confirmation of all 5 to 6 or whatever. So based on that information, I think that that's something that we need to consider. That way we have the checks and balances like we have on the Tribal LLC. We have an operating agreement where the checks and balances are here at the Crow legislature. If some entity should maybe collateralize too much, or maybe something happens on that operating agreement, we could go to that, take a look at it, and then we could maintain standard, things like that. Then that's something that needs to be considered. And then in addition to that, we protect, let's say, for example, we hire a non-enrolled member. We hired a non-enrolled member at the finance department, and that individual at finance got indicted. It was in the newspaper last week. Do we want to go down that road again? I'm wondering that if an enrolled member, we go all enrolled members within the qualifications, then the enrolled member, hopefully has a vision and the best interest of this entity. Something to think about and talk about, and those are the kind of ideas. But these kind of ideas and these kind of thoughts are usually hammered out in committee. But we couldn't express and talk about it and educate ourselves on how we were going to customize and how we were going to educate ourselves on the directors and on the board membership. I'd like to express that at Little Bighorn College, an instrumentality of the Crow Tribal government, the educational institution is, there's an election process. And that election process of Little Bighorn College Board, and that's the way we've done it in the past with that, traditionally, that's how we've done it with other instrumentalities. And so, are we gonna follow that track record? Are we gonna move and, go with the issues that were expressed to us in Harbor Project where, if there are political appointments, then if there are political appointments, many times within the information of Harbor Project, entities are usually, if political appointments are at these positions, sometimes these entities have a hard time getting off the ground. And all of us attended that Harbor Project meeting and seminar, and I think that we need to maintain what was taught to us those days. And I'm glad that everybody's here to listen to that information. I'm glad everybody was there at that seminar. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at the time, I'll move on to the amendments at this time. Go ahead, Paul. Yeah.
All right, I guess, Don, I've been kind of looking around for insurance laws. We need insurance laws for make this a better document.
Go ahead, Don.
With regards to insurance, and the issue of laws, that's also a two-part deal because one of the recommendations I made was that we do need a code and minimize our risk under insurance because if you don't have that, you will drive your premiums up. So I guess that if we're going to be responsible in that manner, we should probably have a tort code. And then I think with regards to insurance laws, it's truly the company that provides the contract and that's the law. They're always boilerplate contracts that it's really difficult to negotiate those, but there are insurance companies that do insure tribes, and I think one of them is First Nations, and I don't know how well they insure, but I know that once you can get to the correct company that covers your needs, you would look at that contract and that would be the law because they're the ones that are providing the protection pursuant to that premium. So I would think on that line of questioning, if we're going to be responsible with making sure we're protected and that we're able to operate according, responsible business, we need to have a tort law code. So, and then as you've seen with all of our contracts that have come in, it's a limited waiver of sovereign immunity, so you're limiting your risk there. This corporation will have that ability to waive its sovereign immunity to the extent of the corporation's assets. So that's why we really need the business lines in there to say, okay, what kind of insurance contract are we going to select and to what extent are we going to waive our assets? So we don't need to enact an insurance law, tribal insurance law, but I think the tort code is probably first and foremost. Overall speaking, for the tribe, if we didn't enact something like an insurance law, I think what we would be doing is we would be enacting something to where we were being taken advantage of by insurance companies. So, I'm sure one of us at one time or another got an insurance policy, something happened and we weren't covered. So, and that's where your business lines come in. You do that very carefully. To say, okay, we want to make sure in every instance we are covered and we're not paying an exorbitant driveway possibility, but the way these companies work, it's difficult. So we need some business savvy ways to get us into the proper contract business.
Thank you, Don.
I have a question. Don, we're looking at shareholders on number, I think it's 5 or 6. And based on that, I think that there should be some type of language on definition of shareholders. Is a shareholder the Cook Capital Government Legislature Executive Judicial? Is a shareholders involved membership? How do we define shareholders as we move along within this chartering?
That's outlined in the Title 18 Business Code for the tribally owned corporations that'll be coming forth. And it's already proposed. And generally speaking, the whole tribe is a shareholder. They enroll membership. But you have what we call shareholder representatives. And under that corporate code, the shareholder representatives are all of you here, senators, including the executive branch representatives. That's your shareholder representatives. So you will have biannual meetings, and you are going to be directly over the board of directors. So that's how that works in the pipeline.
Well, Councillor, we haven't moved forward on the wholly owned tribal incorporation yet, but we are moving forward on this charter without the codification of that code yet. Is that the position?
Yes.
And I'm wondering how come we didn't move with that procedure where codification of that law is usually the first step, and then the second step is tribal incorporation or any type of incorporation, or Consolidated Inc. or any other corporation that the government decides to move forward on.
Tough questions, Senator Gilbert. That one came up in the committee meeting yesterday, and so when I first started, it was the corporation had to be written up in a savvy manner so that it will conform to that code if it's to be passed today, because the push is to get it passed today. So I and Dennis worked on that so that it'll be in conformance with that code when it comes. If there's changes in the code, then we would have to amend it so that it can. But one of the key components to this process that I mentioned earlier is that once the board is appointed, we will have an expertise level that will assist us with that code as well. And conservatively speaking, Dennis and I thought if we had a couple more committee meetings on Title 18, we could have it passed. He thought December, I thought the January regular session. So, like I said, that's a two-partner dance there, so.
Yeah, I think we're getting into the other part where these questions are.
Yeah.
And I think we're kind of getting off being germane now.
Question of privilege.
Go ahead.
As I expressed that, my background in education is chartering and moving forward and legalizing entities. And it seems like we're putting the cart before the horse. But I think that in this branch of government, before you produce and codify a law, do you establish an entity without codifying the law? I don't think that would work with the U.S. Congress.
I'll tell you one thing, the practice of tribal politics and law, that's happened, and it is a practice. And I brought the example up of the Fiscal Management Act. We should be abiding by the Fiscal Management Act every time we pass, or every time we do a financial transaction. That's not happening. And so what we're doing is we introduce law every time. So the way I explained it yesterday was a big blue tarp holding up water. The blue tarp is your Fiscal Management Act. It's got so many holes in it and it's not being utilized properly that every time we get a hole, we're plugging it up with a new piece of legislation. So I use that as an example that, yeah, you do put the cart before the horse. This is not novel, and this has been the history of tribal politics.
Okay.
Question of privilege.
Floor, Ms. Carlson goes
Councillor,
against.
I'm finished, thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Clerk.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Secretary, Vice Chair, members of the body. Sean, for about the business codes today, which is not passed. And I know he brought this up prior, and I understand, but we didn't have any money to hire Sharon McCluskey. He said that, and I knew, and it's true, and putting the cart before the horse, but we didn't have any money to hire her. And then kind of knowing the budget, we couldn't hire any money and we couldn't appropriate, and that was an executive branch, executive branch, go out to hire an attorney to do the business codes. But now we're here on the Solomon Corporation. Now I believe we will have some money where we can set that money aside and work on this right after this. And like you said, putting the cart before the horse, when you can work on the business codes right away. Because of funding, because of no funds. So anyways, saying that, but also, and if it's like if read this, read what it says here. It says, upon selection of the initial directors, the directors shall choose by the 3 directors of the confirmation process. And if it comes for those initial directors, like Wyola, like all the districts, we have to concur with the chairman. Are we going to get somebody that's really business-minded, or are we going to get old Joe off the street and overchill you up? Myself, I ain't going to do that. I'm going to get somebody that is business savvy. I'm going to look at their credentials and look. I already see that it says 25-year-old, but we have that choice. I've seen in this branch 25-year-olds come, and sometimes it gets to their head when you give them all that authority. I've seen that. They get drunk and they get all, I've seen it. I've seen that. Some of them, they don't mature up. But are you going to get a 25-year-old? Family man could have hit the such that he's probably 25, but maybe I can consider that person. Doesn't do drugs, doesn't drink. You could have to cook, even the 25-year-old. But, who you're going to pick? If the chairman sends somebody in here, like we did that with the Solomon Cattle Corporation, and then it was actually Reno. Here, the Reno, there was the qualifications, and the person didn't have a high school degree. And that was one of the qualifications, was to have a high school degree. The person they selected, so, the person didn't make it, unfortunately. So really, it's up to us to concur if each district of directors this is the initial dollar, and then they start working on this. And we already learned previously who we're going to get. Waiwa, who are you going to get? Las Vegas, who are you going to get? Reno, Black Lodge, who are you going to pick? Back Bighorn, I want to make sure we get a good one, and then confirm it. And when we were selecting the judges, we had a high bar, and I know that time Secretary, Secretary of the House was JD. We raised that bar, but there was just a few selections of Crow judges. And those Crow judges were trying to get us into the state jurisdiction, state law, but instead of tribal law. So we reduced that bar, and then we had a better selection of Crow tribal members to be judges. And so this, we better pick some good ones for the initial. So you go to your lot,
Okay,
Question of
board
privilege.
amendments.
Question of privilege. Question of privilege. I'd like to express that we do have in an act amendment Title 8 business organizations of the Code to add provision to tribally owned corporations. So I'd like to correct Senator Duque Utoza, that we do have on old business a code that could be passed into law at some point in time.
Excuse me, what's your question of privilege?
What I was expressing is that law wale mga I was speaking Crow language na law wale na in old business na code and code. If you go to the green tab to the backside, and I'd like to express that we do have a code that is in committee and a proposed code for tribally Abzalga Corporation Code, tribally controlled, tribally owned corporation. There's a proposed code in there that we could essentially move forward on in committee, and we could take a look at it, we can analyze it, and we could go through with proper procedure and protocol of the co-legislature, or we could put the cart before the horse. It's up to you as a Speaker of the House whether you want to put the cart before the horse, but we do have a proposed code in old business.
Okay, it's not up to me, it's up to the body. Okay, at this time, floor is Pedal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the body. This time I'll make a motion to waive amendments, second reading, accept the substitute version, and move to final roll call vote.
Privilege question, I want to make a justification.
Just saying, you need to read that into record though. Go ahead.
Motion.
I would like to, for the record, you said that Reno Cal was picked, the guy that didn't have a high school education. I'd like to justify that for the record. We picked Solon Moccasin.
But that
He
was
has a
before,
business
that was before
business
that.
degree, so.
Oh. What we did was before that. That was before, but that's good. You guys weren't here at the time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Motion's on the floor.
Okay, there's a motion, or there's a motion, second to move to amendments.
I'll read my motion again. Motion to waive amendments and second reading, accept substitute version, move to final roll call vote.
Question of privilege. Should have
Again, the motion was to waive amendments, move on to your second reading, leave that off.
Okay.
And then accept the substitute version. Accept it.
But you have to still read the substitute into record.
The amendments.
No.
Amendments?
You still have to read the substitute into record.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So, Don, could you read the substitute into record?
With due respect, Speaker, I would request that Executive Attorney Dennis Bernowat read that into record. That is his writing.
Okay. Lord, Ms. Dennis, heard a what?
Mr. Speaker, members of the legislative body, yes,
Just read the changes there.
just the changes.
It's a blue line. Yeah. That's the blue line, right?
Okay, there's a blue and red.
Okay.
In place. The amendments made consists of, instead of April 2014 as the header, says October 2016. Joint action resolution number now starts with 16 instead of 14. The page numbering was corrected. It used to read Abzaliga Cattle Company articles. It says Abzaliga Inc. articles. Section 2 of the now therefore part removed the Abzaliga Tribally Owned Corporations Act reference and cited instead to Title 18, Chapter 3 of the Crow Law and Order Code, which is where the Tribally Owned Corporations Act will be inserted once it is passed. Amended the date in the certification part from 2014 to 2016. And it's the same with the executive action part. Shall I move on to the articles? In the articles of incorporation, the amendments consist of similar to the JAR, removing the Tribally Owned Corporations Act part, just leaving it at Upsaliga Corporations Act. JAR number was changed from 14 to 16. Removed the specific site to the draft part 10 we had, and inserted a general reference to Title 18. The page number again was amended. In Article 6, we had a citation to the qualifications portions of the draft code, and instead cut and pasted the qualifications portion of the draft code directly into this. So the specific citation was removed, and instead we just lay out the qualifications. Would you like me to read those qualifications?
Yes.
Okay. Starting with A, subsection 1, directors of all corporations organized pursuant to this part must be at least 25 years of age, possess a high school diploma or a general equivalency diploma, and have no felony convictions. Subsection 2, at all times the majority of the directors shall be enrolled members of the Crow tribe, provided, however, that this requirement shall not apply if a vacancy occurs until such vacancy is filled by a tribal member. Subsection 3, directors who are not enrolled members of the Crow tribe shall have substantial business, financial, or industry experience. Subsection 4, directors may not be employees or elected officials of the United States or any state or local government. Subsection 5, or B, elected executive officials, legislators, or employees of the Crow tribe shall not be disqualified from serving as directors of any corporation established pursuant to this part, and their terms as directors shall not be dependent on their continuing to hold office or employment with the Crow tribe. As I read that, I realized that probably needs to be massaged so that it doesn't say, well, actually it's probably fine. Last paragraph of Article 6, the legislature, in the way that the draft code is written, the shareholder, the legislature votes. That's how the shareholder completes their actions. And legislative legal asked that that be clarified in this articles, since we don't have the part 10 before, or coming up for vote today. So instead it reads, by the legislature acting on behalf of the shareholder. That was inserted. And then in Article 7, remove the specific citation at the end there, which in the draft code lays out the process for shareholder voting and actions, and just left it as a period after approval of the chair. The date was corrected at the very end. And same on the last page, 2014 was changed to 2016.
Thank you. Need a motion for that substitute. Motion by Bryce Hooks, second by Pat Alden. All in favor of the substitute, raise your right hands. All opposed? All abstaining? 15-3, motion carried. Need a second reading or waiving second reading with amendments. Need a motion on that. Organized, Pat Alden.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the body. This time I make a motion to waive second reading, except the substitute version, unified roll call vote.
Second. Second by Bryce Hooks. All in favor, raise your right hands. All opposed? Abstaining? Motion carried. 15-3, motion carried. Roll call vote.
Yeah, it's Blackwell Jesse.
Rogers, Blackwell, yes.
Whiteclay, Blackwell, yes.
Hugh Marino, no.
Burton Brown, yes.
Robert, no.
Goldon, yes. Goodon, yes. Deep Green, yes.
Golden, yes.
Hugs, yes.
Wilbur, Mighty, yes.
Willow, Mighty Low. Melbear, Mighty yes.
Old Rashid, yes.
Alden, Bighorn, yes. Should I check that? I missed that one.
Was vote, Mr. Secretary.
13-3, right? 13-3.
13-3, this legislation has now passed the legislative branch. Any comments from the executive? Or is Mr. Stoll?
Oh, gosh, yeah. Good day. Thank all of you for your support. What we said early on before this was taken, we agreed to disagree without being disagreed. At the end of the day, we're all still pro, we're all still members of the tribe. Let's move forward and let's get some businesses up and going. Is ain't going to disappoint you. You see things are going to start happening. Things are going to move forward. There's going to be a change. I want to thank all of you for your support. Even though you may not all agree, I hope for being here today. Thank you very much. I hope.
Oh. Okay, moving on. Next on the agenda is joint action resolution entitled designation of Crow Trust for owners use by the Solomon Cattle Company, Inc. Parenthesis ACC. This was in the Natural Resources Committee Chair Carlson. Who is that? Is your recommendation to keep it in committee or to follow committee?
Mr. Speaker, we're gonna keep it in committee.
Okay, keep it in committee, thank you. Next is joint action resolution entitled resolution approving the expenditure of up to $50,000 from the economic development account loan for the living history writing to the West Wagon Ride project. This was in the finance committee. Committee Chair Bryce Huggs, what is your recommendation? Keep it in committee or?
Speaker, Secretary, Vice Chair, everybody, or everybody.
Yes, we'll keep that in committee.
Okay, next is joint action resolution of the Crow Tribal Legislature and the Crow Tribal Executive Branch entitled joint action resolution granting final approval of the right-of-way consent and settlement agreement between the Crow Tribe and the WBI Energy Transmission. This is granted Good Luck Infrastructure Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Secretary Guest, members of the body. We'll keep this in committee.
Okay, clerk is Alan.
Speaker, I believe I'd like to use my as a committee member on this one, and I believe I can make that motion. I'll make it within form of motion to entertain this this WBI as we asked for before. And it's within my authority as a committee member, so I'll make that motion to entertain this and bring it to the floor today.
Second.
That was motion by Paddle to bring it throw it onto the floor. Second by Carlson goes ahead. You're both on the committee, so you have the authority. So all in favor of bringing it onto the floor, raise your right hands. All opposed? All abstaining? Motion carried. 12-3-0. Okay. We have a 30-minute presentation. Since you're the one that's, Bill. A 30-minute presentation.
Thank you, Speaker, Secretary. Unfortunately, the committee was unable to reach a quorum several times when Senator Goodluck tried to meet on this. So we appreciate the chance to bring this on the floor and have you consider it today. Make a very brief 5-minute presentation here. I believe you all received packets this morning containing number 1, loose and JAR, the approval of JAR, with one revision to it. That revision just waives the the right to an appraisal, and the intent behind that was to allow BIA to approve the access road rights of way quicker, because otherwise that could be delayed by months to getting those appraisals done. So that is the one change to what we proposed to do, the substitute JAR. You have the full agreement, 34 pages, plus Exhibit A, the dispute resolution mechanism. And then behind that are some summary materials that have been reviewed with those committee members who attended on a couple of occasions, and that's where I wanted to talk from today. The first of those materials, again, behind the agreement itself, says summary of WBI pipeline ROW compensation. Again, at $135 a rod for pipeline right of way and $30 a rod for the road rights of way, covering a new 20-year period plus the 6-year period back to 2010 when these expired. The total compensation to the tribe and individual allotment owners, if the individual allotment owners accept that same level of compensation, would be just shy of $2.5 million. That is 9.5 times what the estimated BIA appraisal is, and amounts to approximately, for the pipeline right away, $7,128 per acre for the use of that right away on those lands for that 26-year period. In addition to the per rod compensation itself, there are also other payments to the tribal government. $200,000 one-time payment for a scholarship endowment or other educational purposes. WBI has agreed to withdraw a tax refund claim that it made for the periods prior to the expiration here to pay another tax payment that it withheld based on their lawyer's advice that they didn't have to, which would be true under the Bighorn Electric case. And then 20 years of taxes, plus they have been paying now, so there's a total of something in excess of $1.2 million in tribal utility taxes that they would be paying over the life of this right-of-way. In addition, at the very bottom, they've agreed to provide gas service for up to 40 residents in a prior area who are close to the pipeline, and by extending it 2 or 3 or 4 miles and along with some service lines, they can get natural gas service. So the idea is that will be brought to their residences, to their house. So that's an overall summary of the dollars involved here. Moving on to the second page that just summarizes the terms of that 34-page agreement. Again, it's a 50-foot wide pipeline right of way, 20-foot wide non-exclusive road easement rights of way at the per rod rates that I mentioned earlier. Expanded natural gas services for prior area residences. That's worth $350,000. One-time scholarship payment of $200,000. Payment of the utility taxes. Compliance with the Workforce Protection Act, which has been reviewed by the General Office, getting all the necessary permits. Full compliance with the Cultural Resource Protection Act and all Tribal Historic Preservation Office requirements for any new excavations, along with a one-time liquidated damages payment of $20,000 for any past damages that may have occurred prior to those laws even being effective. And this is when this pipeline was put in. And then finally, there is a quite limited waiver of sovereign immunity. It uses the standard arbitration provisions that this body has approved several times before relating to construction contracts and bank loans. It specifically limits any tribal monetary liability to never go out of pocket the most that you could ever be charged with. If some tribal official dug up the pipeline and caused damage and the arbitrator agreed that it was the tribe's fault, would be half of our future taxes. So we still receive the other half of those taxes despite any judgment like that. And importantly, anything that relates to a violation of the trust laws or federal law, the BIA could be called upon to enforce those through its administrative and court procedures without the tribe having to get involved in arbitration to expend any money in it. Generally, this pipeline is covered under the federal pipeline and hazardous materials safety administration statutes and regulations. And the tribe retains its jurisdiction on the rights of way for any incidents that might occur there involving third parties. As a quick summary of the values, comparable values for such rights of way, we have a page there that lists, that compares 3 items. First is the Montana Land Board's approval of the Trans-Canada Keystone XL pipeline in 2012. That pipeline was not built due to other reasons. I think the State Department, U.S. State Department denied the permit, but it was for a full 36-inch diameter crude oil pipeline, 30 years, and a comparable length to this current one. The State Land Board, who keeps close tabs on current market values for rights of way, agreed to a $76 per rod right of way for 30 years. $3,900 an acre. The Port Peck tribes granted through about 2011 a right of way to WBI, very similar to this pipeline, at for $25 a rod. And the Crow Tribes, one that has been negotiated by the chairman with the assistance of many of you here, and that is rolled into all these agreements, is $135 per rod. I think that summarizes the whole situation. I'd be glad to try to answer the questions. And with the speaker's permission, I would ask one of the landowners along the pipeline, Ms. Clarice Denny, to say a few words. I believe she's a proponent of the agreement.
Or as Clarice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Secretary, and the legislative branch. As a landowner on this pipeline, I've been waiting since 2010 when the previous right-of-way was expired then. And we've been waiting and waiting, and as a landowner, our land is still held in trust by the U.S. government. And it should have been negotiated by the BIA. But since the chairman already negotiated and got that top dollar, the BIA, on behalf of all landowners, including Dean back there, she accepted with the chairman on that negotiated amount. And I believe about 2 months ago, WBI already mailed consent to the landowners. And the last time I consulted with the BIA, they told me that WBI is only submitting consents that had a majority consent to the BIA. That was, and then, like, our land, my sister and I own this land. It's located at Flight Creek. It's a farmland, but that pipe is underneath. My sister and I already consented, and it's already 100%. It's already a majority. And the last time I was told by BIA, WBI has been, they've been receiving those consents by the box float. And once this agreement is finalized, they're going to start the distribution of funds. It has to be, they have to go through our IM distribution. That's where the money will be channeled, and that distribution will start. And we've been pursuing this, and all of you knew that. I believe I made this first presentation back in, I think it was December. I don't remember. But I've been to several committee meetings, and there was never a quorum.